friends. I'm Quinn Red Mountain, and I am here right now to talk about a series that I'm hosting that I haven't hosted since before COVID, and it is called Weaving Well Through Illness. This time it's a 10-week series, but I want to talk a little bit about it because most of us don't like to talk about sickness or illness or ailments or from the ones that just float through quickly to the chronic ones to things like COVID. It's scary. I also find that there's also this laden attitude that it's a failing to get sick, meaning your vibe isn't high enough, you're not pure enough, you're thinking bad thoughts, whatever that is. And while some of that might be true, I just absolutely don't find it helpful. Sickness can befall anyone, and especially for those of us, and I would say me included at one point, who think, oh, that wouldn't happen to us. All right, so in 2014, a cancer started in my body, and it rocked my world, made me think about a lot of things. And what sickness, significant sickness, does is it makes things very clear about what is important to us, clear about what is not. And I think that COVID on a lot of levels are doing that for everyone right now, right? That's why there's the great resignation, so many people quitting their jobs, doing different things, deciding this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, so on an individual level, whether it has to do with COVID or cancer or autoimmune or something of mind, body, and spirit that just won't go away. This might be a time to stop fighting it or stop trying to ignore it, because that's what we're taught to do. We go to war with illness. We burn it out. We hate it. We get out of here. We don't want to listen to it. But what if our bodies are not our enemies? And so when something happens through our body that is causing us physical distress, we could stop and begin to listen. Maybe there's some things that parts of us want us to know. I think of it as, so the spirits call me Ula, one who balances. So I see that there's this scale of wellness and illness, and there's these grains of sand, right? And sometimes in our lives, there's a lot more weight in the illness side than the wellness side. And sometimes it's balanced. And I feel that even if the wellness is like 51% or 50.5%, over not so much in illness, then we tip in the direction of wellness. Our bodies are amazing. Our minds, our souls are amazing and can heal in lots of ways. And sometimes healing does not mean living on, just to say. There's lots of forms of healing. But what's most important is that inside, in our soul, in our conscience, that whenever it is that our time is done here, that we can face it with as little regret as possible. I call it a regret quotient, that when I was diagnosed with a liposarcoma in my leg, and it was very large, that it came to me as, you need to reduce your regret quotient. So all of these things started coming to me, things that I had just said, man, not that big of a deal. Oh, no big deal. Oh, I'll deal with that later. Things that I did or didn't do, things I needed to say, things I needed to clear up with other people. And I did those things to the degree that I was told I needed to. Also, soul wounds, personal soul wounds from the past, we're taught to just suck it up and move on. But the body remembers. The body keeps the score, as Bessel van der Kolk's book is called. And it does. Also ancestral wounds and traumas and troubles. Also sometimes things that shame, things that we've done that we're not proud of. They weigh on us. They weigh on the illness side. Also things that we do to ourselves that maybe when we listen to our bodies, we can just stop And there's lots of those. And I'm sure that maybe in some part of you, if you've ever had something like that, you're like, yeah, I know. These are things that are very private, right? Most of the time, we don't share them with anyone. And so this kind of series, we use spirit world journeying. We use a drum and rattle and different sounds that can drop our brain waves down and part the veil between our dreaming mind and our waking mind. And also the waking mind is also the judging, thinking, deciding mind. Whereas this dreamlike part can really bring forth some interesting associations or perspectives that maybe we haven't seen before to gain some insight about ourselves. No one in this series tells anyone else about, oh, what that means or judges or anything like that. It is each person with self listening. Maybe there's something that we need to say to our own body or to our younger selves. Maybe we abandon our teen self when bad things happened, or then bad things happened, and we need to come to terms, right? Anything that creates that little knot in the stomach, the little heaviness in the heart. If there is some physical thing going on with you, now is the time to address them. Because the wellness side, every grain of sand that can move from the illness side to the wellness side, that you have just somehow come to terms with self, then it adds to the potential of wellness coming through. All right, so I'm going to read just all, not some, all of the different areas that we're going to address in these 10 weeks. Assembling your healing team, that is internally, allies, ancestors, nature beings, ones, and it might feel like imagination, whatever. I mean, you got to use everything you've got when there's sickness afoot, right? It is time to listen. So who can help you listen? Body love and spirit of balance. A lot of us have come to dislike our bodies for various reasons, and we can work with the spirits of balance to help us. Listening to spirits of regret and grief, untended, now is the time to come to terms. Personal and ancestral wounds. Listening to spirits of fear and anger. Again, a lot of times we just tamp it down and suck it up. But when our body starts acting out and saying, hey, I've got some stuff I need to tell you and we need to change, it's time to change. Soul contracts and curses. And what that addresses is some things maybe inherited from family. There have been a lot of crappy, horrifying things that have happened. And often they go unspoken of, right? But our bodies carry it. Listening to spirits of hope and gratitude. We cannot just push away from one thing. We need to be pulled towards goodness, love, hope. Your healing powers and your greatest gifts. There are many times when people go through a sickness as a spiritual calling, that we need to leave our old life and go to something else. Like if we live through it, we are called to something different. Listening to spirits of expectation and release. We can have a lot of expectations about what life is, or that about how long we're supposed to be here in the physical body. And we just don't know. And finally, gratitude and giving back. Whatever it is that we have learned around gratitude and paying it forward, that is the last one, because no matter what happens with our body, what matters is our soul and how we have shown up in this world and what we do now. What do we choose to do now? So this series is online. There are meditations. You could think of them as meditations to sound, journeys. If you haven't journeyed before, you could reach out to me and I could turn you on to some free resources to bring you up to speed. It's Fridays at 10 in the morning. It goes for about an hour and a half each time, 10 times together. Because creating new pathways takes a little while, right? Takes some time to work with it. And I'm your host. I came up with this series after cancer for myself. These are all the things that that I had to work with, and also that I see every week, every month with people. We're all working through this stuff, especially now with COVID. And I thought about running this at various times earlier in COVID. It just didn't feel like the right time. But now, moving into autumn, into the holidays, almost to, I think it's mid-December when it ends, these are going to be some times that will be good for self-reflection. So even if it's not a potentially life-ending experience, maybe it's something that is frustrating. There's flare-ups, there's episodes, and you're trying to put it together about how to lessen them. Maybe it's private, unhelpful things that we do to ourselves, either eating or addiction or things like that. That is what I call a sickness or an illness, which is anything that impedes our wellness. They could all be addressed, any of that. And you don't even have to speak what your issue is. It's no one else's business. It's between you and your inner world. Another option is that if you don't want to do live or you're not able to because of the timing, that it's by a very flexible sliding scale, that you could offer a donation and receive the recordings, not of other people, but of the journeys and the intentions, not of other people sharing. So if you're curious, there is more info in my link tree, in my bio, and at my homepage and Facebook and things. It's also at weboflifeanimus.com and the calendar under events. If you're curious or you have any reservations or questions, do please reach out to me. And you will need to reach out if you want to participate to get the entry link. Okay, so there's a lot of listening going on and healing. We're all healing here together. We're doing our best. And I wish much wellness to you. Be careful, stay safe, and I hope to see you soon, if for this series or maybe for something else. All right, take good care. You're loved and you're important here. I'm Quinn. Bye.